the Miss Madison, driven by Steve David. He will be joined by the 5, the Graham Trucking, driven by Jeff Bernard. Rounding out our 3-boat field here in Heat 1A, the Clifty Engineering and Tool Company Heat 1A will be J.W. Myers. In the Miss Peterson May, the U11. I've been looking down at a clock. I've been looking at a watch. Have we got everybody away from the dock? I see 1, I see 2. I see Jeff Bernard coming off the lower corner down there. And we've still got a boat here at the dock. That looks like Steve David coming off the corner down there. I've still got the 11 Peters and May here. The Peters and May is at the dock. They do have the canopy still open. So we'll keep an eye on J.W. Myers as we have a little bit of drama going on here. We are 3 minutes and 44 seconds away from our start of Heat 1A. And remember, each one of these boats has to come across the start-finish line one time at speed prior to going down to that 45-second score-up buoy. I would say that is at speed for the 5. The Graham Trucking looks to be very, very strong. Just outside of him and coming across right now is Steve David and the old boy Alberto. He comes by on the outside. The way I see it, that is at speed, Dan Cole.
Yeah, they are. They're getting their race form, race setup, getting ready to put it all out there in Heat 1A. Clifty Engineering, Tool and Die, Heat 1A.
Still got only 2 boats on the race course. I can see between the trucks down there, they still have the canopy open on the U11 Peters and May. That's J.W. Myers. We are inside 3 minutes to the start. Inside 3 minutes to the start of our Heat 1A, the Clifty Engineering and Tool Company Heat 1A of the Air National Guard H1 Unlimited Series here on the Ohio River, the Lucas Oil Indiana Governor's Cup. Now cutting the course, coming forward to the front side. From the back side is Steve David. He had been following Dan Cole, Jeff Bernard around the race course on the outside. He's now leading him around the race course, but he is still outside of Jeff Bernard as they run down the front straightaway.
And thus begins the race before the race, as it's called, the jockeying for lanes. I see the crew now jumping off the 11. The 11's getting ready to pull away from the dock, Brad Luce.
Thank you very much, and as he does that, you see Jeff Bernard say, you know, if you can do that, so can I. I can jump over in front of you. And now, as Steve David comes off the lower corner, he looks up in front of him, and he sees Jeff Bernard. Now, Jeff Bernard's going to cut the course here. Steve David cannot cut the course from the back stretch to the front stretch where he is now. He has to go all the way up toward where Jeff Bernard was when he cut the course, and we are inside 1 minute and 55 seconds to our start. Now, Jeff Bernard is going to go down very, very slow as the Peters and May comes away from the dock. Now, the Peters and May has not yet come across start-finish line under speed, so he still has that to yet to do. Meanwhile, at 1 minute and 35 seconds, Jeff Bernard is going to take the 5, the Graham Trucking, and he's going to troll it very, very slowly down to that lower corner. Now, he cannot pass that big yellow buoy, the exit pin down there, before 45 seconds, and we're at 1 minute 20 right now, so he's really got to slow down, Dan Cole.
Yeah, very quickly, attention on the shoreline, attention on the shoreline. Please get back from the water behind the insurance tape. Again, attention on the shoreline. Please get behind the tape.
And now it appears that at 1 minute and 2 seconds, 1 second, Jeff Bernard is going to go past that exit pin right there, and so is Steve David, and we are at 55 seconds. Both of them have gone past that mark. I'm not quite sure how the score is going to work on that. We will check with the officials. It looks like both of them decided that they were going to go past the marker, and they both know, or at least Jeff Bernard does, he knows that he was across it too early. He cuts the course. He comes down the front straightaway. So this is going to be very, very ragged, and I'll tell you what, Steve David is in a tough position right now. Check that. It is the Peters and May coming down. He comes across start-finish line at speed. He has scored. My error. I had the boats in air in the sun. Steve David appears to be legal past the 45-second buoy. It was Jeff Bernard who was not. I confused those 2 boats down there in the sun. My error. Meanwhile, Steve David is in great shape up the backstretch. He is at the entrance, pinned to the corner. We are 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Mark. Needless to say, a very, very legal start for Steve David and the old man. And he is our leader in Heat 1A of the Clifty Engineering and Tool Company Heat 1A. Jeff Bernard makes a legal start right now, and he's already half a straightaway behind Steve David. Jeff Bernard unfortunately got across that 45-second buoy before the 45-second mark. He had to therefore come up the backstretch and go down and rescore himself. The result is what you see on the race course. He is way behind our leader, the U1 old boy Alberto, as he flies up the backstretch. Right now, Steve David has absolutely everything going his way. And now the most important thing for me to do is to make sure we can count to 5, because we've got to run 5 full laps instead of 3. Here comes Steve David. He's coming down to complete lap number 1. Remember, Steve can hear you in there. His radio man's about 30 feet down the duck from me here. Here comes Jeff Bernard, both running very, very well. Unfortunately, a start procedure error has cost him dearly in this race. It cost him an opportunity to run with Steve David. Now up the lower corner down below. Steve David running very, very smartly in the old boy Alberto up the backstretch. We've got a parade going on here, but I got a feeling the fans here in Madison, Indiana will take it as J.W. Myers comes by, and there's a legal start for J.W. Myers in the U11 of Peterson May. Got boats spread all over the race course. Look at Steve David. He's doing one thing right now, and that is look for clean water. And he's found it in about lane number 2. Beautiful upright. Steve David completes lap number 2. David down in the lower corner. He is on lap number 3. Here comes Jeff Bernard in the 5, the Graham Trucking. Not making up any ground, particularly on Steve David. I don't really think he wants to. I think right now Jeff Bernard will say, fine, I made an error. I will run in second place and take those 300 points. Meanwhile, up the backstretch, J.W. Myers. He is running up into the upper corner, and he is running at the risk of being lapped by Steve David, perhaps by the time we get done. But this is as much a test session as anything else for J.W. Myers. They had a difficult time getting the boat away from the dock. You see J-Dub doing the gentlemanly thing here. J-Dub pulls the boat way to the outside. He's going to stay on the outside, let Steve David run inside of him and have clean water to run as he completes lap number 3 and goes down to the lower corner on lap number 4. Now, running in the slop a little bit, Jeff Bernard. He's running behind Steve David by half a straightaway here. Jeff Bernard crosses and completes lap number 3. They are on lap number 4. Off the lower corner now, it is all Steve David. He goes past J.W. in the Peterson May. He's halfway up the backstretch again. J-Dub doing a gentlemanly thing there. He yielded to Steve David. He went way to the outside, gave Steve all the room he needed on the inside, and Steve David is running beautifully through the upper corner. Right now, he is on the radio with his radio man who is telling him where there's clean water down the front straightaway, telling him what line to run in. Steve picks up, flies the ball, comes down to complete lap number 4. Steve David is on lap number 5, the final lap. Here comes J-Dub. He's a lap behind in the U11 Peterson May. Both looking good, and they're going to pick up third place points if he can hold it together. Meanwhile, Jeff Bernard, second place in the U5 Graham Trucking. He comes across and completes lap number 4. He too is on the final lap. All right, ladies and gentlemen, here he is up the backstretch. Steve David, old boy Alberto. Dan Cole and I were talking about it a little earlier. Before you can win every heat of the year, you got to win the first one. And right now, Steve David appears to be in a perfect position to do that. The boat running beautifully. He's not having to extend the equipment. I know that makes his crew chief, Mike Hansen, happy. Here he comes out wide. Give it up for him when he comes down. Steve David going to come down and take 400 points. Steve David. Nice run for the hometown boat. Also, a nice run for Jeff Bernard. Saved the error of getting past that 45-second buoy too early. Jeff Bernard will come down and claim second place points. That's 300 points for the Graham Trucking, the U5. With one more lap to go, I believe that should be the U11. Peterson May, J-Dub. I think he's got one more to go as both Bernard and Steve David got past him. Unfortunately, Dan, when they went down to that lower corner with 45 seconds to go, I looked away at the Peterson May coming out of the pit area, got lost in the sun. I made an error. I thought maybe Steve got past the 45-second buoy before he should have, as did Jeff Bernard, but it was not to be. That was the Peterson May who did that. Steve showed the first thing you've got to do. Chip Hanauer says this all the time. The driver cannot make an error right out of the box. Steve was very conservative. Make sure I'm legal on that buoy. He was, and there's a result.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about all weekend the race before the race, and there's none better than Steve David at getting that lane, getting that start, and it was just a shame because that sized up or started out, it looked like it was going to be a whale of a heat, but with the 5 and with the 1, but unfortunately, the shorter track, timing marks. Who was out here this morning scrolling and working on timing?
J.W. Myers brings the U11 Peterson May. He across the start-finish line. He'll score 225 points as our